didn't want to play center, but he's overweight for Little League, so he wanted to play running back and fullback. So there's all 23 other kids, but, some of them you can tell they don't want to play where they're being played, but they have to, and some of them have embraced where they're positioned at. Oh, it was on.
Move it a little closer.
I need to go to sleep.
That better?
Yeah.
I can yell if I'm really, you couldn't hear me. So the point of my lesson is embrace the grind. And what does that even mean? Embrace the grind. The Urban Dictionary says embracing hard work with a positive outlook is basically what it says. And, like I said, some of them kids have, some of them, I don't know, they'll be better at the end of the season than they were the first day of the season, but they're, you can't coach if they don't listen. So, and, we've pointed that out. We went over a certain kickoff team, and you get out there in the middle of the game, and you have 8 or 9 kids out there, and you're like, who's missing? At that point, it doesn't matter. Get somebody who wants to play, that's paying attention, and right there. Same thing with, we scored like 5 touchdowns in a row. And they kept being called back because we could not convince this one wingback to not go in motion with the other wingback. So it's penalty. So we socked him out and the other one did it. So we had like 5 touchdowns called back within like a couple of minutes, and we finally scored. But it, it's very frustrating that, the guys that aren't messing up or keep getting penalized, but it's a team sport. So embracing the grind, embracing the hard work, and we can do that whether it's your a sport, extracurricular, whether it's your church life, whether it's your job. That's where I wanted to get with my second story. I have a helper, and I always tease him. He's like 6'4". He looks like he could play defensive end for Dallas or something. He's a big boy. But I always tell him he's bad luck. Ever since I've gotten him, it seems like about once a week we have something very chaotic happen to us. In a 2-week period, we had 3 lines explode on us, live lines, and we got soaking wet. One of them, it was probably a 50-year-old solder joint, and all he did was take the drinking fountain off the wall, and he goes, "Hey, Marshall, man, I really don't think that's good. You probably need to look at it." So, okay, if he's that panicked, I might need to go look at something. And I looked at it, man, that line sure looks like it's bent really, really funky. I touched it. That's all I did. I didn't pull on it. I didn't try to unscrew it. I didn't do nothing. I touched it, and I had a line below. And at Berkshire's warehouse, the shut-off valves, if they haven't had any, it feeds from the second floor, so all the pressure's coming down. And all I can do is think, go get a cap and try to stick my hand over this line. And it didn't work. So the only thing else I knew to do was you can kind of crimp the line enough and channel locks to slow the flow, and then I could press the line of the cap on it. And that worked. By that time, we had water. It's like this whole foyer we're going to fill it up. We were standing in water. We were pulling up all kinds of stuff, trying to vacuum it up. 2 hours later, I missed church that night. But 2 hours later, we got all that hot water soaked up. And my helper, he was we had another one blow at a park that I guess it was too hot when I froze the line to cap it, but you just have to put the valve on and press it live and, with it running. And anyway, we were talking about it. He goes, and that is I might be bad luck. 3 lines break in 1 week. That's, in a 2-week period, that's a lot. But he never was not positive. We had to clean it up. We had some, I went and bought new clothes. I was so wet. I could take my boots and just dump the water out of them. I was so wet on these lines. But, it happens. It's going to happen. Don't panic. And then once you're done with it, how do you fix it? So, I embrace the grind of that. I look forward to it. It's not a lot of fun to have that much water, especially when it's ice cold, and you can't stop it trying to fix it. But in our spiritual life or church, I looked up a bunch of scriptures that are kind of more sporting, I guess, than anything, but kind of embraces the grind. And then, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford said that. I thought that was a pretty good little quote, but, somebody would read Romans 12:2.
Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
Now that scripture, as I was doing this lesson, I thought, what is that telling me? And get your mind right. Remove what's useless and, focus what's on important. Coaching them boys, we're all telling them, it's game time. Don't worry about the cheerleaders. Don't worry about your mom in the stands. Don't worry about the popcorn you're wanting. It's time for you to play. If you're not focused, you're going to get hurt, or you're going to get somebody else hurt. It's time for you. We can't baby you anymore. It's game time. You got to get your mind right. And I always tell Nicholas, you're going to mess up, but if you mess up, do it full speed. If he didn't, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know why he was trying to drop back in the coverage from defensive end, but he messed up. But he was moving, and I think they said he made a play and everything in that practice, but it showed them that he could actually play a different position that he would be more valuable at than where he was already playing. So he messed up full speed and worked out for him. And kind of along that same lines, failure is not an end to your story, but it's the beginning of your comeback story. So we are going to mess up. Just don't, stay positive, stay focused. All right. Joshua 1:9. Somebody read that.
Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not tremble or be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
How do you think that helps you embrace the grind?
You're not doing it on your own.
Sure. Anybody else? But God has our backs. Like Mark says, they're not going in alone. So be
You
ready.
don't go with an attitude of fear, but go with a positive attitude. It makes a difference.
Very much so. Yeah, I said be ready. Don't go in half-hearted. Like Mr. Bloomberg said, positive attitude. And we do a lot of jobs plumbing that they're not going to be fun. They're not going to be real clean. They're going to be hot. They're going to be really cold. They're not going to be a lot of fun. And I tell my helper, I've had him for a little bit, somebody's got to do it. Us trying to put it off is just making you last longer. Maybe if we finish this job, the next one will be a lot easier, a lot better, a lot cleaner, a lot more fun. Usually doesn't happen, but that's the kind of the mindset that you kind of have to have. Or, yesterday it was hot. All the boys were hot. You've only got one more quarter. Just worry about one more quarter. I took water out to Nicholas in the game when we were switching sides, and said if you get that tired to where you need to come out, you need to let us know. But as long as you're good, this is how we'll do it. And we're coaching those other kids too. And it's like you only got 3 more minutes at halftime, and you can take a break. By the time the fourth quarter started, they didn't even know it was the fourth quarter. They thought they were still in the third quarter. It moved really fast, and they were having fun. Does help if you're winning too, but their outlook on it, it wasn't so much it was hot anymore. or anything else is, you know, they're having a good time. And that's kind of, you gotta have that outlook on things. So God has our backs, don't go in half-hearted, and be ready. The best thing you can do is be ready. Nothing worse than somebody not knowing the play, and at the line of scrimmage, you're trying to teach a kid what he's supposed to do when he ain't got a clue. Or anything else for that matter. All right, the next point, 1 Corinthians 9:24. Somebody read that.
And 24,
Yes, sir.
do you not know that those who run a race all run, only one receives the prize? Run in such a way to win.
Okay. How do you think that scripture helps us to embrace the grind?
Give it your best.
Stay in the race. Stay in the race.
Stay in the race.
Run to a second, third, or first.
Just,
Don't run kind of second or third place, but first place. Win the race.
And we can't.
you know, if I'm running a race, it's gonna be like a 40-yard dash, that's as far as I'm gonna run. But, you know, some people, you know, in this race, you know, we're talking about our Christian life or in life and everything, it's a marathon, it's not a 40-yard dash. So you kind of have to pace yourself, you know, don't exhaust yourself too early.
Mark, in verse 26, where it says, therefore I run thus, not with uncertainty, thus I fight not as one who beats the air. So he's giving all he's got. He's got an attitude like he's gonna win.
From the time I can remember, Dad always told us when the going gets tough, the tough get going. You gotta, you know, stay in the race, do what you have to do. Winning is important, but the manner in which you win is more important. So you're running the race, you're not cheating, you're not you're shoving someone else out of the way or down or tripping them or whatever. You do it the right way. And, you know, that's what I think he's talking about. You know, in a marathon, you're not going to run as fast as you can the whole race. You pick a pace, you stay at that pace, and you keep going. If I was running a marathon, I'd probably have to walk through the marathon. I'm not running at all. But, you know, my brother used to run cross country, and he could pick a pace, and he could run that for hours. I never understood the joy of running like that, but he did. But that's, you know, he had a specific pace he had for a cross-country meet for 3 miles versus a mile on track or whatever. And you gotta adjust to those.
Mark, we have hurdles and obstacles, you know. It's just like Paul, look what all he went through. And he helped, of course. And he ran a good race, but he had all kind of things in his way. That's what we should do as Christians, is let Paul example. And no matter what gets in our way, keep going strong, you know.
That's a good point.
Like you running, you're a running back and you're running ball, you see this great tackle, come. You know, a lot of them let that stop them. They go right around and roll them.
Yeah, and with that example, you know what your talents are, what you're capable of, what you know, what you can do, and you know, adjust to that. Not everybody can run over a big defensive tackle. Some of them are gonna have to run outside. You know, some of them don't. Some, especially in this little league stage, some of them don't know their talents yet. We have one. If we could just convince he's a short little running back. He's stocky. If we could convince him to just lower his head and run, he'd be great. He wants to go outside. I think his dad says he's scared to get hit. He just needs to be hit one time good, so he knows it doesn't hurt that much, but I don't know, it's, you know, each one has a different skill set. A lot of kids do. So you can't put them all in the same tub and, you know, all be the same, but, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to figure out which one and what they're capable of, what they can do.
The other thing you're dealing with is parents. They want their son to be a quarterback, and that's what they tell their son to be. And your son may be a good tackle, or a good quarterback, or a good, one of the other positions, but if he's not a good quarterback, but that's what they want him to do, but that's where the glory is. And we have to watch, that's not what we're running for. And we have to also bring our children up to know that every time they do a play, there's one quarterback, and you have to have how many, 16?
11 total. 11 total.
11. You have 11 people. So one quarterback out of 11 people, there's only gonna be one of them. And so not everybody's gonna do that. I mean, not everybody, and don't do it in a negative way, because I'm not trying to be negative, I don't do that. But just find your place, which that you like to do that. And show the coaches that you like to do it. Sometimes we need even that little returning to learn it's time to turn so that parents step off. And that's hard. I know it's hard, especially because some of us don't learn it until we're 15 years old. But, you know, they have their agenda and we're individuals. We have ours, even when we're little, you know. And so, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I know what I'm trying to say, but I may not be getting that across. That's hard when you're teaching rules. I know, but we have to kind of roll into that and find out, you know, and forget that it doesn't work for me just because it worked for mother and daddy. It does not work for me. We're not the same person. We don't have the same personality. We don't have the same abilities.
Well, with the little league kids, you know, we just told them, you know, we have a quarterback. He's played before. That's his spot. This guy's the running back. He knows the system. He's played there before. You know, certain positions were already locked in. But if you don't like it, you know, we're gonna put you somewhere else. And if you can't play there, then you're gonna sit the bench. And we're gonna tell your mom or your dad why you won't get in the game. And we had several that we called them. They just they didn't want to play. Or in the middle of the game, what they were playing, they didn't want to. So you got to show us something. And we've done a lot of adjustments on some of these kids because this one wanted to play. He got out there, he hustled, he did what we asked him. Now you give him a chance at something else. Sometimes it's a lot of the attitude versus, you know, what they can or can't do.
Well, another thing, this is from the baseball, baseball coach. He says they all, when you first come in, they all want to be pitchers. He's looking at position you want, they all want to be pitchers. Well, of course, not everybody can pitch, but then you finally learned after a while, they asked the little boys who their favorite baseball players. And most of the time, their favorite baseball player is not a pitcher. So, you know, you have that. I don't know, you can do that in football. I never was involved in anybody's football. But but that would be, I thought it sounded like a good idea.
It is.
But then, you know, you can use that role model to convince them that they're like, in a good position to play.
Marshall, the quarterback don't win the game, the whole team wins the game.
Yeah.
Like the pitcher, they don't win, the whole team wins. You know, part of it.
So Marshall and Christiane, you don't know who has chosen you as their model. So we have to think somebody is patterning their life after us. We may not know who it is, but we have to set the example.
That's very true.
Another instance, so it kind of goes in the opposite direction. In Little League, in almost any kind of sport, you've got coaches who've already decided that you've locked in this child to do certain things.
Yeah.
Well, that tells other kids who could have the ability, who could be taught that I'm not important.
It does.
And we've seen that all through the years with all of our kids, every sport they've ever played, that some kids are locked in because they're good, or they're the coach's daughter, or they're the good friend's daughter's son. And you can watch at practices where the coaches put their perspective on that better player. And I know with coaches, and I know with parents, and I know with others, it's winning the game that's important.
Yes.
But it's not. It's teaching every one of those kids that they have a place where they can be and be appreciated, and they can learn to do other things. A lot of them grow up, yeah, I played baseball. What'd you play? I always put me out in the outfield.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I feel like kids get cheated
I do.
because they don't have an opportunity to really grow. They're just on the team.
Well, you know, like Anthony Little League for a couple of 3 years, he was probably the best catcher they had, and all of a sudden the coaches, one of the coaches, kids were coaching, were playing, and they put Anthony out in the outfield. Anybody that knows Anthony knows he's not going to be an outfielder. He's not that bad. But that's where they would put him.
And that's the race we're talking about being a Christian, because there are people who are not going to volunteer to do something, but most of the time, if you go and ask, they'll do it. And that helps people grow, maybe because they didn't have the confidence to say, I'll do it. They're not an outspoken person, they just have always been in the background. But we're talking about a Christian race, and every Christian who is in that race, no matter what place they're in. But it's all of our responsibility to help that other person grow in different aspects of Christian life, no matter what their measure and no matter what their abilities turn out to be.
We
That's
have
one
to
of my
look
later
at,
points.
we have to look at things as we go through as teachable moments or learning moments. What is God trying to show us at this particular time or whatever? This is something we're dealing with Isaiah on his tennis. You know, he is better than a lot of the kids that are in his class this year. Well, he don't want to play because he doesn't have a challenge there. Well, we're trying to teach him is a chance for you to teach someone else, to give what you know back, to show them, even as a Christian in your everyday walk, this is what you're supposed to be doing every day. Showing as a Christian the things that you need to do to help someone else. It's not always about you, you know, which teenage kids, you know, it is about me. So, but that became a very teachable moment for us to teach him what he needed to do as a Christian to help these other kids. Not to say, they're not any good, I want to be around. You can't have that attitude, and as we walk each day, yes, there's things that some of us can do, some of us can't. You can't say, I sure hope she doesn't volunteer for such and such, you know, she doesn't do that very well. We can't do that. We need to encourage everybody every day. And this will be on for the rest of our lives as we go through, because what is the teachable thing that God wants us to learn as we get older? It's not just about our little kids teaching them, it's us that are older, you know, age 2. We're constantly learning. He is constantly teaching us something, no matter what our age is.
And sometimes somebody may not be doing something as well as somebody else because they don't know how. And we don't need to criticize that person. We might need to just try to get in some kind of a friendly conversation about how they did it or something, and say, why don't you try this? Or what, or something like that.
Well, it's a,
You know, it's,
game time situation is not when you want to start trying to figure out what the kid knows, whatever. But during practice, you have a lot of one-on-one time. But yesterday, there's some of the boys that they have had, I've watched, they have not had their shoulder pads strapped up yet. Game time, we're adjusting shoulder pads, trying to make sure they're tightened down. And you think, well, one of them was like, why have you not had these on yet? Well, I didn't know how. So I showed you the other day when I strapped him up for you.
Don't ever say that.
He's, I've strapped him for him. I've showed him how. Now, whether he's not paying attention, he don't care, whatever the thing is, but, I showed him how again. So sometimes, you gotta be coachable in those aspects too.
Well, not everybody learns in the same way. You may have done what you did with one of those little boys, and he has picked up like that. You're gonna have another one, you're gonna have to show them time after time after time before they finally get it. And that's not necessarily that child's fault. That is just the way, that's just the way it is with that child. And so, when we're dealing with children, we need to be real careful how we criticize them. This learning business is not as easy as we've been brought up to think.
I know when I was a kid, Dad would tell me, just do it because I said to do it. One day you might figure out why, but in the meantime, just do it because I said. And, sometimes, and I'm kind of bad about that with work. When I was still butchering, I had a helper. I explained to him, I showed him. I said, one day that light bulb's gonna go off. You're gonna finally understand what I've been trying to show you. Right now, just do it because that's how you need to do it. But he called me. I'd already quit butchering. He was at some different store. He called me one night and goes, "Man, you're right. And I didn't talk to you in a year. What am I right about? And he told me, he said one day he was working and it just all of a sudden what I've been trying to show him with this stuff had clicked. And, it's like, I wish that happened 3 years ago when you were my helper, not this other guys. But, I was still proud of him for that.
Well, I was usually manual. I don't run real fast. I mean, I had somebody help me quite a bit sometimes. These manuals they give you when they sit in the new business machine in front of you, you're supposed to read it. Without fail, there's some step left out of that manual. Without fail, I can see. And you try, and you go every step and it doesn't work. Well, did you read the manual? Yeah, I read the manual. I went by the manual 3 times and it didn't work. And they just, write you off as stupid. Well, you didn't know anything about the machine in the first place, and somebody that's supposed to be smart enough to write that manual left some little minute step out of it that it's not gonna work if you don't use it. And so there's a lot, and so when we're doing it verbally, we may be doing the same thing sometimes.
Next point, Proverbs 13:3 and 12:18.
One who guards his mouth preserves his life. When it opens wide his lips, cuts the ruin.
The 12:18 says, there is one whose rash words are like sword thrusts, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. With this, and talk about embracing the grind, I put, there's no need to taunt or trash talk, be uplifting, whether you're in the game, you're coaching, you're a fan, whatever. We had in our practice, we had so many, when you sign up, they'll ask you want to coach, you want to be team mom or snack, or, what you'll do. And usually nobody ever signs up for that stuff. But then when practice, when little Johnny's out there, you got 30 dads suddenly wanting to coach and uncles and everybody else. So we had to finally, after a couple of practices, we had to ask, parents have to stay in the stands. They don't come on the field. You have to wait for your son and daughter to come off the field during whether it's practice or a game, because there's so much yelling that you can't show. We do 2 practices in, we didn't know what some of the kids could do at all because there's so much talking. But in the game, you can be better than another team. You can be winning, or you can be losing. There's no need to trash talk. And our Christian race is the same way. I always looked up to from a classroom setting. I was in Todd's class from late 4th grade or something like that, maybe 5th grade, all the way until I graduated in high school and college and everything. So I always looked up, you know, if I asked Todd a question, no matter what the question was, it might take him a couple of weeks, you know? Might be the next day, he might have the answer right then, but he always got me the information I was looking for, or kind of nudged me in the right direction or whatever it was. So and I was with him for, you know, until Mr. Ray started teaching us Wednesday night, for years. He was the only teacher I had at church, in the classroom setting. So I learned a lot from him, so I really looked up to Todd a lot. Todd's not here anymore, so now, who do I look up to now? Well, sometimes I still call Todd if I have a question. But that's you know, you need to be on that kind of a familiar level with somebody. Probably where I Joe sometimes too. If I haven't figured out an answer after so long, I'll call, I'll text, I'll email, whatever, but I'm gonna figure out what I need to know. Sorry, Joe.
It's all right.
But that's how you have to be. If you're looking for an answer, no matter what you're doing, whether it's your career, your little league team, your church life, you're gonna find an answer. You'll do whatever it takes, but you have to do it uplifting. I mean, I'd probably never call Joe again if I called Joe and said, "Hey, Joe, I have a question." What? What do you mean? I'll Joe, I'll call him again. But he doesn't answer the phone like that, so, you know, it's, that's how you have to be.
He also knows how to put you off if it's necessary, without hurting you, without making you feel like that you're bothering him. Because, you know, you can tell, somebody that is really kind and not rude, and you can tell if there's really a problem, and if they didn't use it. And usually, if the things, because I've called on him all the time. 2 weeks ago, I found something that I called him about, because it just overwhelmed me. And, we talked he had enough time to sit there, and we talked for several minutes, and we got off the phone. He is one that does not handle it. Everybody does not.
Like
There's
it's,
also the other issue, you know.
And there's a lot of times that I don't know the answer either. So we have to give some time to look it up and find out.
And this is very common for the attribute of Joe's. If he doesn't know, he'll tell you if he doesn't know. He won't keep you on the phone listening to a bunch of phone rolls. He's trying to make you think he knows something he doesn't know. He'll tell you right on the line, I don't know. And that's a very positive thing about the number Joe.
right. You know, sometimes that, you know, needs to be uplifting. I can get on to Nicholas in the middle of a practice or a game. There's a couple others that do the same way, and you can tell he shuts down, he's not listening, he ain't gonna care, and I call it blowing his neck. He'll just sit there and, yeah, he's not gonna do it. No matter what I do to it, he's not gonna do it. But in the practice, I told one of his coaches, said, "Hey, when he messes up, you need to get him. Don't let me, you know, I can get your son if that's what it takes, but I can't, you know, he doesn't respond to that." And apparently Nicholas messed up in the practice, and that coach would shoot him up pretty good. After he's done, so, you know, I love you, Nick, but you gotta focus now. It's time to focus. Play a different kid the next play. And sometimes that's what it takes. Next point, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Somebody, read that.
Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not into thy own understanding, and always acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths.
Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 help us embrace the grind.
You have to trust the Lord to be able to do anything. That's right, but we have to understand that. We don't know it. Sometimes we think we do.
One of the points in my sermon today is being able to recognize when to ask the question and not, you know, and accept the answer when it comes. You don't say, I'm not gonna accept God's teaching on salvation until I learned everything about, did Adam have a helper? It's gonna be, I need to find out what God wants me to do before I answer every other question.
Most of us that have, we learned, we were missed the boat a long time ago if we did that.
That's like a person waiting to me that time, till they learn everything. You know, they said, oh, there will be.
I've known people that are still waiting 40 years later.
Right.
Of course, I don't know that they picked up their Bible in that time either.
I think it was a middle school coach I had, he always told us that, when we were practicing, to get somebody our size and our ugly. And, I always thought that was kind of funny, but really, you want to get somebody that's just a little bit better than you if you can pair up with them. Because that's gonna make you work. And the more you work, the more you try, you might lose. The drill you're doing 9 out of 10 times, that 10th one's gonna keep you motivated and interested. You'll slowly get better. And this has been, we need to trust God and He'll make things easier. I used to, I don't know why, my last year playing football, my coach wanted me to play linebacker. I don't know why. I thought it was the dumbest thing, and I tried it for about 3 weeks. Right before one of our first games, like, you know what, I'm not gonna play linebacker. I'm never gonna play. We got 9 or 10 of us already for 2 spots. I'm not gonna play. So I want to play defensive tackle where I was real familiar with. And he agreed. He let me go back. I got to play defensive tackle. I was happy. But in the middle of the game, he go play linebacker, and I thought, whoa. I didn't know the calls. I never really embraced that part of it because I hadn't played it before. But we had Spring Hill used to run, was notorious for running kickoff reverses. And the coach always told us, stay in your lane on kickoff. And I was just trotting that, running down the field in my lane, and they ran that reverse that time, and there was no other Blackwater player on that side of the field with me. And that drill, they taught you always take your inside shoulder to keep them on the inside of you. That instinct in that moment kicked in. That's what they showed us. So 3 weeks worth of linebacker got me 1 tackle in the middle of the open field in the game. And that's probably the only time I reacted like that. But it was, you got to be part of, coaching and practicing. If you practice slow, you're going to play slow. If you're not paying attention in the practice, you're not going to really be paying attention to games. So that's just going to carry over. Same thing with your work life or your Christian life. You're not applying it anywhere but 3.5 hours a year a week, and that's all you're getting. A year from now, you're just going to have just that much time. You're still going to be, I think Joe said, you'll be in kindergarten until you're 50 or something like that, if you're getting the same amount of hours of knowledge. All right. I guess the next point, then we'll probably have to continue Psalms 91:11. Somebody read that real quick.
For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways.
Thought that was a pretty interesting scripture. God's going to protect us. He has angels watching over us. I kind of thought about the footprints in the sand there, little parable we have. And then, I seen this quote: when you're going through something hard and you keep wondering where God is, remember, teachers never talk during a test. I thought that was, He's there with us. He might not be talking to us at that moment, or but He's given us everything we need to handle those situations. You gotta be, you gotta embrace that. Kind of like when you go and get stuff get going. If you're only paying half attention to stuff and you're only learning half of it, that's always going to carry over. Nicholas, this is first year really having to learn you can only do this on, lineman can't go down the field on a pass play. He's playing center, so you gotta, Of course, you gotta get the snap. Once you touch that ball, you can't move the ball. You did, that's a penalty. So all this information is just getting crammed into that poor little boy's head. And, first, all right, they'll give you a little bit of a lead period on moving the ball. You see, it's starting to click in, what he can do, he's gotta get set for the other lineman to get set. He's gotta be set for the quarterback to get the ball. I told us, you're really worried about, not being able to play in the backfield, but that's right now. Right now, you have to focus on center. Thank y'all.